Bows, TKOs, yeah. Bows, TKOs, we got bows, TKOs, yeah. Bows, TKOs, we got bows, TKOs, yeah. Bows, TKOs.
Bows and TKOs. We are live, episode 90, coming at you from the Valley. I'm your host, Shane Gillette, for this weekly MMA podcast. You stream anywhere. You get your podcasts and videos on YouTube. Again, this is episode 90. What a show we have. Some fights that have been announced, recapping the lackluster Apex card, and previewing a fight night card back in the O2 in London. And before we jump into MMA, man, crazy couple weeks. Got to go to Disneyland with my cousins and my girlfriend. She got to meet my family. She was the best tour guide of all time, showing us the Disneyland park, as she's been there many a times. Used to intern for Disney World. And yeah, it was really cool. I went once in my life, my one big family vacation with my mother when I was 10 years old. So it was like a walk down memory lane. Got to spend one day in Disneyland, one day in California Adventures. On Friday at Disneyland, went from 8 a.m. to midnight. What a experience that was. Have my friend visiting from Wyoming this weekend. Catch a final spring training game, a Suns game. And enjoy all of the March Madness, the Mat Madness for wrestling. We'll talk about that in episode 91, what happens in the NCAA championships. But let's talk MMA. We have some fights that have been announced. Daniel Zellhuber is out of his fight against Austin Hubbard, so Markel Medeiros is in for March 29th. We have Dontel Mays and Thomas Peterson May 3rd. Luana Santos and Tainara Lisboa May 17th, as well as Hyun-Sung Park and Carlos Hernandez and Paul Craig versus Rodolfo Bellato, all on that May 17th card. On May 3rd, we have Rainier de Ritter taking on Bo Nickel. Big time fight for Bo Nickel. Jeremy Stevens and Mason Jones. Jeremy Stevens doing well in the BKFC. Gets a show and win contract for the UFC, betting on himself. And then June 7th, this is supposedly in Newark, New Jersey. That's the rumored location. We have Johnny Walker and Azamat Murzakanov as he comes back from suspension. We'll see what old Johnny Walker can do. Now let's talk about UFC Fight Night Vegas 104. I went 5-3 in my picks. Not a terrible night in the office. Overall, 544 wins, 269 losses, 8 no contests or draws. On the year, 60 wins, 28 losses, 1 no contest or draw. To recap this card, I would say the card started with a ton of action. There was 3 first-round finishes, 5 of the 7 prelims via finish. You love to see it. Performance of the night paid out on the prelims. And the main card was fun. There was a ton of finishes as well. But it was just missing like the big name fights with the ability to earn a title shot or close to contention. I'm recapping it at a 6 out of 10. I think I previewed it a 4 out of 10. So with all the finishes and scraps, it was a pretty solid card. Some good fights we did not break down. Carly Judice with a beautiful round 1 head kick knockout over Eunice Dubin. She got performance of the night, 50 G's for Carly. We have Priscilla Cojero with a round 1 knockout over Josiane Nunez. Performance of the night, 50 G's for Priscilla with that beautiful uppercut. We had Andre Lima with a round 3 submission via rear naked choke over Daniel Perez. That's another performance of the night, 50 G's. You love to see that on the prelims. That's some game-changing money for them. We have Carlos Vera with a round 1 submission via rear naked choke over Josias Musasa, another performance of the night. All the performances in the prelims. We had Kevin Vallejos with a round 1 TKO over Sungwoo Choi. And Brenson Ribeiro with a round 2 submission via Kimura over Dr. Nurgazai. So let's kick this off. We had one prelim fight we broke down. A fight I got wrong. Waldo Cortez Acosta with a round 2 TKO over Ryan Spann. And man, I thought we'd continue to see the development and well-roundedness from Ryan in his game. That wasn't the case at all in this fight. Waldo was picking him apart with his jab, was the quicker striker, used the speed to his advantage in round 1. And he had some big shots just land on the mark that had Ryan kind of questioning himself to start the fight. He wasn't aggressive like we're used to seeing. And then in round 2, Waldo was all over Ryan, and Ryan had no answers for him. He even tried some sloppy takedowns but never looked comfortable in there. But Waldo landed 77 total strikes, 66 of them significant. He had a knockdown, was 0 for 1 in takedown attempts, and had 57 seconds of control time. And Ryan landed 24 total, 23 significant, so less than half. He was 0 for 2 in takedown attempts. There are some pretty sloppy takedowns. I thought maybe early with the rejected body language, Ryan would resort to grappling more. But Waldo extends his winning streak to 4. He's 4-1 since 2023 and moves up 1 spot in the rankings to number 11. And Ryan starts a new losing streak and moves to 1-4 since 2023. So what's next? Well, Waldo is not to be taken lightly anymore. Let's book him against an absolute banger against the Black Beast, Derek Lewis. And Ryan can fight with Janata Deniz. Not too sure if he's going to stay at heavyweight or not. We'll see what happens, but I think that's the fight to make. Moving into the main card, we had Damon Blackshear with a round 2 submission via Kimura over Cody Gibson. And this fight was really the tell of 2 rounds. I mean, round 1, Blackshear looked like Ryan Spann. He did not do much but play defense. And Cody came out hot throwing combo after combo, like 4 or 5 shot combos. Had Damon on his back foot right out the gates to win round 1. I mean, Blackshear only got 9 strikes off in round 1 compared to the 37 of Gibson. In round 2, Damon seemed kind of woken up from the fight that Cody brought to him. And though Cody got a takedown, Damon was the aggressor. And after the takedown, got a beautiful Kimura in quickly. Gibson was done for. Great fight from Cody. I don't think this was really bad for his stock, so to speak. But Damon caught him with a beautiful submission. Statistically, Damon landed 46 total strikes, 13 of them significant. He had 3 submission attempts, a reversal, was 0 for 1 in takedowns, and had 3 minutes and 32 seconds of control time. Cody landed 53 total strikes, 45 of them significant. He was 1 for 5 in takedown attempts and had 2 minutes and 42 seconds of control time. So Damon extends his winning streak to 2. He's 4-3 since 2023. And Cody ends his 2-fight winning streak and starts a new losing streak. He's 2-3 since 2023 in his UFC return. So what's next? Give me Damon Blackshear and Charles Jourdain. What a beautiful fight that would be. And for Cody, a fight with Ronnie Yaya. Moving on to another fight I got correct. We had Alexander Hernandez with a unanimous decision over Kurt Holobaugh. And what a fight this was. Alexander, technical as always, had beautiful footwork. And Kurt just came in on Hernandez like a pit bull who wouldn't let go. He would eat shots to close distance and close the distance on Alexander, which had him resort to wrestling. He had to take Kurt down to slow him down and get him off. But each round was an absolute dogfight. Great fight. Hernandez took rounds 1 and 3. Nobody's going to want to square off with Kurt the Hurt. He's just a veteran beast, man. He's a problem, although he didn't take the victory. Good showing. Statistically, Alexander landed 87 total strikes, 59 of them significant. He was 4 for 5 in takedowns, so if he wanted it, he got it. And had 6 minutes and 39 seconds of control time, so more than a round. Kurt landed 106 total, so about 20 more, and 20 more significant strikes at 71, and he had a submission attempt. So Alexander extends that winning streak to 2. He's 3-2 since 2023. And Kurt starts a new losing streak. He's 2-2 since 2023 in his UFC return. Now, I would love to see Alexander and Elves Brenner. And for Kurt, a scrap with Joaquin Silva makes a lot of sense. Moving on, we had Chidi Njokuani with a round 2 TKO over Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos. And as you would expect Chidi to start doing, he used his length to his advantage in this fight. He was picking Elizeu from distance with his kicks, and there wasn't much Santos could do about it. Santos did throw some big heavy shots from distance, but he wasn't able to get close enough to land heavy, so he resorted to grappling. But Chidi did well defending his takedowns, and just really complete controlled performance by Chidi. Statistically, Chidi landed 46 total and significant strikes with the knockdown. Elizao only landed 19 total, 17 significant. He was 1 for 5 in takedowns with a minute and 14 seconds of control time. So great defense on the grappling for Chidi. So now Njokuani extends his winning streak to 3. He's 3-2 since 2023. And Elizao starts a new losing streak. He's 2-1 since 2023. So what's next? Well, I think Chidi and Muslim Salikov is the fight to make. And for Elizao, he can rebound against Chaos Williams. Then in the main event, not much of a doozy here, but we did have a swap from the first fight as Roman Dolidze won via unanimous decision over Marvin Vettori. And this fight was eerily similar to the first, except less leg kicks from Vettori. Both fighters were exchanging, but Vettori was controlled and definitely controlled the fight in the exchanges in round 1 to win the first round. The biggest difference in this fight was this was a 5-round fight. I actually had it going 2-2 in round 5. That's not what the judges' scorecards had it as. But the biggest difference as the fight wore on, because it was just a tit-for-tat exchange from round to round, is in championship rounds, Roman had willingness to throw strikes non-technically, non-systematically, and that was the big difference, as Marvin kept coming with just a 1-2, circle, 1-2. He just didn't deliver enough, as he never went back to the lower leg kicks either as the rounds wore on. It was a solid technical fight, but sometimes in these matchups, we need to see just kind of the inner dog come at you and just be willing to go for it. Roman did show more of that, not a lot of it, but more of that than Vettori. And I do feel like both men should have done more. This is a brutal loss for Vettori, somewhat understandable after the time off with injuries, but it didn't look like he added anything to his game or had time to focus on his craft. He's on the fast track to the bottom of the rankings and an exit of the top 15 now. But a huge win for Roman, and the drop back down to middleweight has paid off for him in a huge way. Marvin didn't even resort to grappling or wrestling. I would have liked to have seen that. That's worked for him in his UFC career, especially the way the fight was transpiring going into the championship rounds. But try to do it with a minute and a half left or so in the round, tire Roman out. Marvin's younger, more well-versed in 5-round fights. Really make him earn it in those last couple minutes. You could win it with the grappling. So a tough night for Marvin and a solid fight, not a great fight. Statistically, Marvin landed 112 total, 111 of them significant, while Roman landed 141 total and significant strikes and was 0 for 1 in takedown attempts. So Roman extends his winning streak to 3. He's 3-2 since 2023, and he moves up 3 spots in the rankings to number 9. Marvin extends his losing streak to 2. He's 1-2 since 2023, and he drops 2 spots to number 10. Now, I would love to see Roman and Jared Cannonier. I think that would be a great fight. And Marvin can get new blood in a fight with Brendan Allen. But solid little fight night. A lot of action in the early goings in the prelims. But this weekend, back to London in the O2. An early card here in the States. We have the prelims at 10 a.m. Pacific. Main card at 1 p.m. Pacific, all on ESPN+. To preview this card, as always, there's a ton of English fighters for the fans to cheer on and get rowdy for. The fans at the O2 always show up and go wild. The last time we were in the UK, it was weird hours. But the main card has some really good scraps with a ton on the line here. The prelims are full of young English prospects that can really make moves to arriving and really getting the broader fan base to know their name. I'm pumped for this early day action. I'm previewing this card 7 out of 10. Some good fights we will not break down. We have Invicta alum Shauna Bannon taking on Pooja Tomar. Christian Leroy Duncan taking on Andrei Pulyaev. And then Molly McCann taking on Contender Series alum Alexia Tainara on short notice. But let's kick this thing off. In the prelims, we have Guram, the Georgian Viking Kutateladze, 33 years old with a 13-4 record, taking on Cowie Fernandez, 30 years old with a 9-2 record. Now, when I watched Guram fight Damir Ismagulov back in June of 2022, I was just blown away by his speed, precision, technicality, and just the arsenal attacks that he brings to a fight. It's been 2 years since he defeated a very good Mateusz Gamrot in his UFC debut, but since he's only fought 3 times due to injuries and traveling issues, he's in the middle of his prime now at 33 years old and taking on a new face to the UFC who's just now hitting his prime but is a tough fighter as well. Breaking this down, Guram is a Brave alum. He's on a 1-fight winning streak, 1-1 since 2023, and 7 of his 13 wins are via knockout. Now, Cowie is an LFA alum. He's on a 1-fight winning streak. He's 1-1 in the UFC, and 5 of his 9 wins are via knockout. Now, Cowie is coming off an impressive first-round finish of Muhammad Yahya, but is taking a big step up against Guram, who I'm thinking is probably struggling to find opponents to fight. Guram is more technical than Fernandez, for sure, but Kutateladze has struggled against opponents who make it a dogfight and ugly. So I'm interested to see how Cowie tries to do that and see how Guram showcases his talent early on this card to set the tone for the rowdy London fans. I am taking Guram Kutateladze. We're putting him on that parlay. We marking that ish down, and we getting that bread. Moving on. We have Nathan Fletcher, 27 years old with a 9-1 record, taking on Callan the Don Logren, 28 years old with a 9-2 record. This is a fantastic fight early in the card between 2 very young and skilled prospects who I expect to terrorize the bantamweight division for some time. They'd actually fought when they were amateurs, Nathan getting the decision victory. I do think a win here puts these guys on the map in front of a sold-out arena. The moment is now. Breaking it down, Nathan is a Cage Warriors and Ultimate Fighter alum. He's on a 1-fight winning streak, which was his UFC debut. 7 of his 9 wins are via submission, and he has a 2.5-inch reach advantage. Now, Callan is a Cage Warriors alum and former champion. He's on a 1-fight losing streak and is 1-2 in the UFC, and 5 of his 9 wins are via knockout. Now, this really is somewhat of a clash of style showdown, but both fighters are well-rounded. Nathan is going to test Logren's chops in the grappling, but if he can avoid being taken down and held down, this fight will be very interesting. Very familiar foes, kind of rivals at the gyms overseas, but I am taking Nathan Fletcher. We are putting him on that parlay. We marking that ish down, and we getting that bread. Moving on. We have Mick Parkin, 29 years old with an undefeated 10-0 record and the number 13 next to his name, taking on Marcin Tybura, 39 years old with a 26-9 record and the number 8 next to his name. Now here is the real test for Mick, right as he enters his prime window at 29. He trains with one of the best heavyweight gyms in the world. He's Tom Aspinall's training partner, and he looked really good. But Marcin is a different animal who could bring the fight anywhere, and although he's almost 40 years old, he's fighting at a high level. This is definitely the toughest opponent in Mick's career. Breaking this down, Mick is a Contender Series alum. He's on a 10-fight winning streak, 5-0 in the UFC, and 6 of his 10 wins are via knockout. Now, Marcin trains out of Syndicate MMA. He has a black belt in BJJ. He's an M1 alum and former champion. He's on a 1-fight winning streak and is 3-2 since 2023. 10 of his 26 wins are via knockout. 5 of his 9 losses are also via knockout. So to knock out or be knocked out. And he does have a 3-inch leg reach advantage. Now, Marcin has been fending off his spot in the rankings, fighting young and up-and-coming heavy hitters. And after losing to Tom Aspinall, he has fared very well. He's kind of having a late career resurgence. Mick, I believe, is more technically sound of a striker, but we haven't seen his ground game, where Tybura is for sure going to look to take the fight, so a bunch of unknowns should be answered here. I have a hard time picking against Parkin in his prime, especially at this point on the card. This is his chance to get the crowd to go bonkers, and he has a ton of potential. but I would not be shocked if Tibura brings it to him in different ways, and that's why he's the favorite. I am taking Mick Parkin, but I'm avoiding this on any parlays where possible. Next up, we have Lonnie Kavanaugh, 25 years old, another undefeated fighter with an 8-0 record, taking on Felipe Daytona dos Santos, 24 years old with an 8-2 record. Now the prelims again, loaded with very fun prospect fights, and this one fits the bill. A 24 and 25-year-old studs in the flyweight division. Lonnie has been thought very highly of and really has only known success in his career. Felipe is no slouch. He's a fast twitch and powerful flyweight, so tune into this one. Breaking it down, Lonnie trains at a Great Britain top team. He's a Cage Warriors and Contender Series alum. He's undefeated on an 8-fight winning streak and is 2-0 in the UFC, and 5 of his 8 wins are via knockout. Now, Felipe trains out of Shootbox Diego Lima. He's an LFA alum. He's on a 1-fight losing streak and is 1-2 since 2023, and he's rocking a 3-inch reach advantage. Now, much like the Parkin fight, it's going to be interesting to see how Kavanaugh does versus Felipe's high-paced grappling. But when it comes to striking, I expect him to have the technical and power advantage. Felipe is quick, he's a dog, and is going to look to test Lonnie's game. I can't wait for this one. I am taking Lonnie Kavanaugh. We are putting him on the parlay. We marking that ish down, and we getting that bread. Moving on in the prelim headliner, we have Jai Black Country Banger Herbert, 36 years old with a 13-5-1 record, taking on Chris Taco Padilla, 29 years old with a 15-6 record. Now to wrap up the prelims, we get a wily veteran taking on a tough scrapper hitting his prime and is on a roll. Jai has had mixed results of late, but is well-rounded, and it's going to be a tough test for Padilla in his stiffest test yet. Breaking it down, Jai has a Muay Thai style. He's an orthodox fighter. He has a brown belt in BJJ. He's a Cage Warriors alum and former champion with 1 successful title defense. 9 of his 13 wins are via knockout, and 3 of his 5 losses are via knockout. So to knock out or a B, knocked out. He's also rocking a 3-inch reach advantage. Now Chris is an RFA, Brave, and Bellator alum. 8 of his 15 wins are via knockout, 5 via submission, so 13 of his 15 wins via finish. And he's on a 5-fight winning streak, 2-0 in the UFC. Now in this fight, I expect Jai to want to strike from distance and Chris to want to close the distance. Chris has more of a boxing style, while Jai likes to throw kicks. If there is a finish, I expect it to be from Chris. Jai only has 1 finished victory since he came to the UFC. For that reason, I'm taking Chris Padilla. I am putting him on that parlay. We marking that ish down, and we getting that bread. Moving on to the main card. We have Morgan, the Last Pirate Scherer, 29 years old with a 20-10-1 record, taking on Nathaniel the Prospect Wood, 31 years old with a 21-6 record. Now the main card is starting with some juice. We get 2 men who have been very fun to watch. Morgan is newer to the UFC, but has shown us how good his striking is against some worthy opponents early in his UFC career. And Nathaniel is really impressed, but the last few years he's beat guys like Andre Fili and Charles Jourdain. The time is now for Nathaniel Wood to continue his momentum, but Morgan may be the best striker he's faced. Breaking this down, Morgan is a Cage Warriors alum and former champion. He's on a 1-fight winning streak and is 2-1 in the UFC. 12 of his 20 wins are via knockout. Now, Nathaniel trains at a Great Britain top team. He has a black belt in BJJ. He's a Cage Warriors alum and former champ with 2 successful title defenses. He's also a Bellator alum. 8 of his 20 wins are via knockout, 5 via submission, so 13 of his 20 wins come via finish. Now, Wood has some nasty kicks and is going to try to chop away Morgan's legs to keep his kickboxing away. But Morgan has great movement and a non-traditional striking ability, where Nathaniel is very technical and straightforward. This is a close fight, but I'm taking Morgan Scherer, and I'm avoiding this on any parlays where possible. Moving on, we have Jordan the Epidemic Vucenic, 29 years old with a 13-3 record, taking on Chris the Problem Duncan, 31 years old with a 12-2 record. Now, basically, both of these men are in their primes, but Chris has had some success early on against some of the lesser competition in the division, and it took him 2 Dana White Contender Series fights to get a contract. Jordan is another Cage Warriors stud. There's a lot of them on this card, and he's had a ton of success beating people like Morgan Scherer for the Cage Warriors title, and even getting a split decision victory over Paul Hughes, but later lost a unanimous decision in a rematch against Paul Hughes. He's got stiff competition in his UFC debut against Guram Kutateladze and lost via a unanimous decision. Breaking it down, Jordan is a Cage Warriors alum and former champion. He's on a 1-fight losing streak in his UFC debut, but is 4-1 since 2023, and 6 of his 13 wins are via submission. Now, Chris trains out of American Top Team. He's a Bellator and Contender Series 2-time alum. He's on a 1-fight winning streak and is 3-1 since 2023. 7 of his 12 wins are via knockout. Now, I think Jordan, although he's new to the UFC, has a great resume of competition leading to the UFC, and is another fighter to come from Cage Warriors who's going to be a problem in the UFC. I think he's more technical and skilled wherever the fight goes versus Chris. Chris does have solid power and submission ability, but I think Jordan goes to work with his striking arsenal and is able to take Chris down if he chooses to. For that reason, I'm taking Jordan Vucenic. I am putting him on that parlay. We marking that ish down, and we getting that bread. Moving on, we have Gunny Nelson, 36 years old with a 19-5-1 record, taking on Kevin Trailblazer Holland, 32 years old with a 26-13-1 record. Now, per usual, Kevin is turning around and fighting again pretty quick. He last fought RDR 2 months ago. He didn't really look good at all in that fight, especially against grappling. Gunner can grapple as well, and that has been a weakness of Kevin's. He's been fighting at middleweight, and now Kevin seems to, maybe keeping a home at welterweight here. So it's going to be interesting to see what's in store. Breaking this down, Gunner has a BJJ style. He's an orthodox fighter. He has a 3rd-degree black belt in BJJ and a black belt in Goju Ryu Karate. He got silver in the 2009 IBJJF Championships in the gi for brown belt. He has the most submission wins in UFC welterweight division history with 7. He has the highest significant strike accuracy in UFC welterweight division history at 60.5%. He's on a 2-fight winning streak, the only fights he's had since his 2.5-year layoff, and 13 of his 19 wins are via submission. Now, Kevin is an orthodox fighter. He has a 2nd-degree black belt in Kung Fu, a black belt in BJJ. He's tied with Roger Huerta and Neil Magny for most wins in a calendar year with 5. The most wins in a calendar year in UFC middleweight history with 5. And the most bouts in a 12-month period in UFC history was 7. He was the 2020 Male Fighter of the Year. He's a Legacy FC, King of the Cage, LFA, Bellator, and Contender Series alum. He's on a 2-fight losing streak and is 3-4 since 2023. 14 of his 26 wins are via knockout, 8 via submission, so 22 of his 26 wins via finish, and he does have a 9-inch reach advantage. Now, Kevin hasn't had a quality win since July of 2023, and that was in the welterweight division. He needs to prove to me he could do more than take fights on short notice. He hasn't showcased great striking and has kind of been a fish out of water when his opponents wrestle him. I expect Gunner to be aggressive, look to chop Kevin's leg, and land combos to get in close and attempt takedowns. Kevin could use his length to keep Nelson at range and win with his striking abilities, but I don't have confidence in him right now. For that reason, I'm taking Gunnar Nelson, but I'm avoiding this in any parlay. Then in the co-main event, we have Carlos Black Jag Olberg, 34 years old with a 12-1 record and the number 6 next to his name, taking on Jan Blachowicz, 42 years old with a 29-10-1 record and the number 3 next to his name. Now, Carlos has been on an absolute tear as he's moved up the rankings, and now he's getting his stiffest test against the former light heavyweight champ who had a title defense and only fought once last year, but was a very close split decision against Alex Pereira, and he had a draw against Magomed Ankalaev in 2022. So the current and previous light heavyweight champs, he battled. Breaking it down, Carlos trains out of City Kickboxing. He's a Contender Series alum. 2 of his last 4 fights have been performance of the night. He's showing up, he's showing out. 7 of his 11 wins are via knockout. He's on a 7-fight winning streak and is 8-1 in the UFC. Now, Jan has a black belt in BJJ. He won the 2008 World Championships in Muay Thai. He's the former light heavyweight champ with 1 successful title defense. He's the first male Polish champion in UFC history. He's a KSW alum and former champ with 2 successful title defenses. He's on a 1-fight losing streak and has won 1-1 since 2022. 9 of his 29 wins are via knockout, 9 via submission, so 18 of his 29 wins via finish. But Jan has a lot of skill, abilities, and strengths. But at 42 years old, I don't think he's going to be able to handle the speed and the power of Olberg. He's in his prime. He's 8 years younger. If Jan can get Olberg into clinching situations and get him down and keep him down, this is where he's going to win the fight. I'm not expecting that to happen, as I believe both men are measured to start and exchange leg kicks, which they're both great at. But then it will be Carlos being the aggressor and Jan trying to stay out of range and counter. For that reason, I'm taking Carlos Olberg. We are putting him on that parlay. We marking that ish down, and we getting that bread. Again, a ton of English prospects here. Guram, we get to see him fight again. Mick Parkin, Nathan Fletcher, Callan Logren, Loney Kavanaugh. We got Jai Herbert. We got Morgan Scherer, Nathaniel Wood, Jordan Vucenic, Chris Duncan. Gunnar Nelson's return. Can Kevin Holland get back on track? And a absolute amazing scrap against Jan Blachowicz and Carlos Olberg. And then in the main event, somewhat of a short notice mix-up, we have Leon Rocky Edwards, 33 years old with a 22-4-1 record, taking on Sean Brady, 32 years old with a 17-1 record. Now, this fight came to be a bit of a surprise, as it was supposed to be Jack Della Maddalena, but he gets the title shot subbing in for an injured Shavkat Rakhmonov. Sean is a way different animal for Leon to prepare for on a few weeks' notice, but is something he's been preparing for a few years with grappling heavy fighters. He fought Bilal Muhammad, Colby Covington, and Kamaru Usman. If Leon wants another shot at Bilal to get his strap back in front of the hometown crowd, he has to win. He could let people remember who he is with a beautiful performance. Now, Leon is a southpaw fighter. He has a black belt in BJJ. He's the former welterweight champ with 2 successful title defenses. He's the first Jamaican-born champion in UFC history. One of 2 undisputed British champions in UFC history, along with Michael Bisping. He has the latest knockout and finish in UFC welterweight division history, 1 second remaining against Peter Sabata. He had the 2022 comeback of the year and knockout of the year in that fight against Kamaru Usman. He's on a 1-fight losing streak and is 2-1 since 2023, and he has a 3-inch leg reach advantage. Now, Sean is an orthodox fighter. He has a black belt in BJJ. He's a Cage Fury alum and former champ with 2 successful title defenses, and he's on a 2-fight winning streak and is 2-1 since 2022. Now, I expect Leon to be a better striker and the quicker striker. Sean is a strong animal and has a high IQ, but the kicks of Leon and the jab is really going to be the difference, I expect. I expect Sean to be aggressive early in takedown attempts, and I expect him to get a few, but for Leon to defend most of them and to be able to get back up. In a 5-round fight, Sean may be able to wear on Leon, but I expect Leon to be in great shape and prepared as he's in London for a chance to get the title back. For that reason, I'm taking Leon Edwards, but I'm avoiding this on any parlays. Let's see what he could do. I'm excited for these locational fight nights out of the Apex. Next week, we go from London to Mexico for another awesome fight night card. There are plenty of good fights, and I expect some awesome brawls in front of the Mexican crowd. This will be headlined by Brandon Moreno and Steve Ursig. That's episode 90. I'm your host, Shane Gillette. See you next week.